Aliens found a dead human ship, then it started moving. Shock. The human ship had been dead for 173 years. No engines. No weapons. No life signs. Not even enough power to keep a single light burning. Captain Orvek had seen thousands of abandoned ships during his career, but this one was different. It was drifting above a dead moon at the edge of a system that no civilized species had visited in decades. Its hull was scarred. Its engines were destroyed. Half of the bridge had been exposed to space. By every scientific measurement, the ship was nothing more than a frozen piece of metal. So Orvek ordered his salvage crew to cut it open. They expected ancient technology. They expected valuable human artifacts. What they did not expect was for the dead ship to start moving. Pause. And when its first light came on, the ship spoke 6 words. You have entered the evacuation zone. Act 1. The Dead Ship. The Veya Dominion had been exploring the galaxy for almost 400 years. The Veya were experts at finding what other civilizations left behind. Their ships carried scanners capable of detecting buried reactors beneath planets. Their archaeologists could reconstruct entire alien databases from a handful of damaged memory crystals. And their salvage crews had one simple rule. If nobody owned it anymore, it belonged to the Veya. Captain Orvek followed that rule without question. He commanded the Valiant Spear, a Veya exploration cruiser with 12,000 crew members. When the ship entered the Keeler system, their long-range scanners detected something unusual. A metallic object. Large, artificial, and completely silent. Orvek ordered the ship closer. The object slowly appeared on the main display. It was enormous. Almost 400 meters long. Its surface was covered with thick armor plates. 2 engine sections had been destroyed. The rear half of the vessel was blackened from some ancient battle. But the most interesting thing was the symbol painted across its side. A simple blue circle surrounding a small white star. The Veya database identified it immediately. Human. Orvek stared at the screen. Humans, he said. His science officer, Thais, looked surprised. I thought humans abandoned this region. They did. When? Approximately 173 years ago. Thais studied the ship. Then this vessel has been drifting here for all that time. Orvek nodded. Probably. He smiled. Which means nobody is coming back for it. Act 2. Humanity's reputation. The Veya had met humans before. Humanity was not considered one of the galaxy's great powers. They had no enormous empire. No ancient megastructures. No fleets containing millions of warships. Their technology was considered functional but inefficient. Their ships were heavily armored. Their computers were unusually independent. And their military doctrine confused almost every alien strategist. Humans had a strange habit of preparing for situations that had never happened. They built underground bunkers on planets that had never been attacked. They maintained emergency communication networks that had never been needed. They stored food for decades. They trained civilian populations for disasters that existed only in theoretical models. The Veya considered this excessive. Paranoid, even. But humanity had one characteristic the Veya respected. Humans were extremely difficult to surprise. That was why Orvek found the abandoned ship interesting. The humans had disappeared from the region. Yet they had left a warship behind. Why? Act 3. Boarding the vessel. The Veya sent 20 engineers aboard. They entered through a damaged section of the hull. Inside, everything was dark. The air had escaped centuries ago. Their suit lamps illuminated empty corridors. There were no bodies. No weapons. No personal belongings. Nothing. The ship looked as if its crew had simply vanished. Thais found the first unusual object near the command deck. A metal plate. He scanned it. The translator struggled with the ancient human language. Then the message appeared. If you are reading this, we lost. The engineers stared at it. Thais continued scanning. Another line appeared. Do not follow US. One engineer laughed nervously. Follow you where? Nobody answered. Then the ship made a sound. A tiny mechanical click. Every engineer froze. Another click. Then another. Somewhere inside the dead vessel. Something was turning on. Act 4. The first light. The bridge suddenly illuminated. Not brightly. Just enough to reveal the command chairs. Dust floated through the air. The Veya engineers raised their weapons. Thais looked at his scanner. Captain. Orvek's voice came through the communication channel. What? We have power. Impossible. The reactor is active. Orvek looked at the ship's energy readings. They were almost zero. Then the reading changed. 0.1%. 0.5. 1%. The ancient reactor was waking up. Orvek immediately ordered the engineers to leave. But before they could move, a voice filled the bridge. It was calm, mechanical, and unmistakably human. Evacuation protocol incomplete. Thais stared at the central computer. Who are you? The computer paused, then answered. Emergency command system. Where is the crew? Another pause. Evacuated. When? 17 years before final shutdown. Thais looked at Orvek. The captain frowned. 17 years. That made no sense. The ship had been drifting for 173 years. Why would its computer say the crew evacuated only 17 years before shutdown? Orvek ordered Thais to ask another question. What happened to the crew? The computer answered. They survived. Act 5, the map. A holographic star map appeared above the command console. At first, it showed the Keeler system. Then the surrounding systems. Then hundreds more. Red markers began appearing. One after another. Thais counted them. 30. 200. 500. Then thousands. Entire regions of space were marked red. What are those? Orvek asked. The computer answered. Evacuation zones. Orvek's expression changed. Evacuation from what? The computer did not answer. Instead, a second map appeared. This one showed human colonies. But they were not where the Veya expected them to be. Human settlements had once existed across this region. Mining worlds. Research stations. Military bases. Agricultural colonies. Orbital cities. All gone. Not destroyed. Evacuated. Thais suddenly understood. The empty worlds weren't evidence that humanity had collapsed. They were evidence that humanity had planned something. Orvek whispered. They knew. Act 6. What humans knew. The Veya had always believed advanced civilizations were the best at predicting the future. Their computers could model wars, predict economic collapse, calculate asteroid trajectories centuries ahead. But humans used a different approach. They prepared for uncertainty. A Veya computer might calculate the probability of an invasion at 0.03%. A human commander might say, "Fine. What happens if we're wrong?" That difference had shaped human civilization. Humans built backup plans. Then backups for the backups. And when humanity detected an unknown threat approaching the region, they did not wait for proof. They evacuated. The abandoned ship was part of that plan. But why leave it behind? Thais searched the database again. Then he found something. A final recording. The image of a human woman appeared above the bridge. She wore a dark military uniform. Her name appeared below the recording. Commander Mara Ven. The recording began. If you're seeing this, you're probably not human. She paused. That's intentional. Orvek leaned closer. Mara continued. We detected something moving toward this region. The recording displayed a star map. Several stars disappeared. Then several more. Mara spoke again. We don't know what it is. The Veya officers exchanged glances. We don't know where it came from. Another star vanished. But we know what it does. The screen went black. Then one sentence appeared. It removes civilizations. Act 7, the countdown. The Veya bridge became silent. Orvek ordered the human computer to explain. It responded immediately. Threat designation, unknown. Distance, unknown. Direction, unknown. Estimated arrival? The computer paused. Then, 11 minutes. Orvek stood. 11 minutes until what? The lights went out. Every Veya ship in the system suddenly lost communication. Their sensors began malfunctioning. Then the stars outside the windows changed. One disappeared. No explosion. No flash. One moment it was there. The next. Nothing. Another star vanished. Then another. Thais whispered. That's impossible. Orvek stared at the darkness spreading across the sky. The human computer spoke again. Final evacuation protocol active. A countdown appeared. 10:59. 10:58. 10:57. The Veya fleet began preparing to jump. But their navigation computers couldn't calculate a safe route. The human ship could. Its ancient navigation system suddenly activated. A route appeared. Orvek stared at it. The route passed directly through the region where the stars were disappearing. That route is insane. Ty shook his head. No. He looked at the human navigation data. It's the only route that works.
Act 8. Humanity returns. The Vea fleet followed the human coordinates. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the stars around them began disappearing faster. Orvek ordered maximum speed. Suddenly, a signal appeared. One human signal. Then 10. Then 100. Then thousands. Ships appeared from the darkness. Human ships. But they were unlike anything the Vea had ever seen. Some were enormous. Others were barely larger than fighter craft. Some were civilian transports. Some were old military vessels. Others looked like ships built from pieces of different spacecraft. There was no single design, no uniform fleet architecture, no central formation. Yet somehow, they moved together. Orvek watched in disbelief. How many ships? Thais checked. His voice became quiet. Approximately 4 million. The Vea bridge went silent. 4 million. Humanity had not disappeared. It had moved. It had spent 173 years building somewhere beyond the reach of the known powers. And now, it was coming back. Act 9. The Human Commander. A communication channel opened. Mara then appeared on the screen. She looked older than the recording. Much older. But her eyes were the same. Orvek spoke first. You knew we would find your ship. Mara nodded. We hoped someone would. Why? Because we need help. Orvek almost laughed. Your civilization has 4 million ships. We're not fighting an army. Then what are we fighting? Mara looked behind her. Through the window of the human command ship, darkness covered the stars. Something that doesn't negotiate. Something that doesn't conquer. Something that doesn't hate us. Orvek waited. Mara whispered. It simply arrives. Act 10. The twist. Orvek finally asked a question that had been bothering him. If you knew this thing was coming, why didn't you destroy it? Mara didn't answer immediately. Then she said, because we tried. A file appeared on the Vea display. Human weapons tests. Massive explosions. Experimental energy systems. Artificial singularities. Planetary weapons. Everything had failed. The threat could not be destroyed, but humans discovered something else. It could be avoided, not forever, but long enough. Humanity had spent 173 years studying it. Every evacuation, every hidden colony, every abandoned ship, every silent planet had been part of the research. The human civilization the galaxy thought had collapsed had actually been conducting the largest survival experiment in history. Mara looked directly at Orvek. And we learned something. What? It follows civilizations. Orvek felt his blood run cold. Why? We don't know. Then why did you bring us here? Mara smiled sadly. Because it has never encountered a civilization that fights back by becoming impossible to find. Act 11. The final battle. The darkness reached the edge of the system. Human ships scattered. The Vea fleet followed their instructions. No massive formation. No single command center. Every ship received a different route, different objective, different escape vector. Orvek finally understood the human strategy. They weren't going to defeat the threat. They were going to survive it. And survival required something the Vea had never considered important. Independence. If one human fleet disappeared, another continued. If one colony fell, another survived. If communication failed, ships operated alone. Humanity had built a civilization that could lose pieces of itself without losing everything. Then the darkness reached the human command ship. Mara looked at Orvek. Captain. Yes. Your people have a choice. What choice? Run. Orvek stared at her. And you? Mara looked toward the stars. We've been running for 173 years. She turned toward her crew. Not today. Act 12. The human counterattack. The human fleet activated. Not weapons, signals, billions of them. Across thousands of systems, hidden human colonies awakened. Old satellites, mining stations, research facilities, civilian networks. Every piece of infrastructure humanity had secretly built over the previous 173 years began transmitting. The galaxy lit up with human signals. The threat changed direction. For the first time, it hesitated. Mara watched the data. It's working. Orvik couldn't believe it. You found a way to stop it. Mara shook her head. No, she smiled. We found a way to make it choose. The human signals formed a massive pattern across space. The threat began moving toward the brightest concentration, a decoy civilization, an artificial network designed to look alive. The human fleet disappeared through the opposite side of the system. The Vaya fleet followed. Behind them, the darkness swallowed the decoy, then stopped. For the first time in recorded history, the threat had been distracted, ending. Weeks later, the Vaya returned to the keyless system. The human ship was gone. Only the metal plate remained. Orvik picked it up. The words were still visible. If you are reading this, we're lost. But now there was another message beneath it, one the Vaya had never seen before. We also learned. Orvik looked toward the stars. Humanity had not built the most powerful weapons. It had not built the fastest ships. It had not discovered immortality. It had done something much more dangerous. It had learned how to survive failure. And perhaps that was why the galaxy had misunderstood humans for so long. The Vaya had spent centuries asking, how powerful are the humans? They had been asking the wrong question. The right question was, how much can humanity lose and still keep going? Pause. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, a human transmission reached the Vaya network. 3 words. We're still here. Epic, and for the first time, the galaxy understood what that really meant.